Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Ms. Pinky, and this is a new episode of Miss Pinky Thoughts. And I'm glad you can be here with me. My special guest is Aja Smith. She's out of California, and she is a California GOP representative and an awesome woman. How are you doing today, Aja?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed. God is good. New opportunities, and we had a big thing come here in California. All the signatures got verified to recall our governor.
Yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that since you are out there and you're working with the people that's doing it? Let our guests know and people who catch the live stream later, let them know exactly what that's about.
Well, if you haven't been paying attention to California politics, a lot of people decided to recall Gavin Newsom. And so it was a couple of attempts to do. So another group decided to go ahead, take the bull by its horns. The same group that also did the recall for Gray Davis. And so we were successful. Lots of volunteers. It wasn't even a partisan recall. It was a nonpartisan recall where Democrats, independents, and everybody was just so sick of Gavin Newsom, where so many people, such as my great friend Joe Collins, who did a traveling recall across the state to make sure that we had the required signatures. We got over 2 point something million signatures to even get it on the ballot to recall him. And if nobody really knows the history about Gavin Newsom, he is Nancy Pelosi's nephew.
Wow. Oh, that says a
Yes.
lot and explains a
That
lot.
says a lot. And so when he started to see that recall, oh wow, he started changing his tune because he had his own lockdown like Fort Knox here. We couldn't go out to restaurants. I mean, we were pretty much stuck in our house. You couldn't go anywhere. We were running out of toilet paper everywhere. And it was just a big mess here in California. And a lot of small businesses, even before the pandemic, a lot of small businesses started to leave California and go to Texas and go to Arizona. I've had at least a dozen friends who moved out of California. They said, Aja, you need to get away. But I said, no, I'm a California girl and I'm going to stand and fight
That's
for what is
right.
right until I can, till my last breath, as much as I can to help out my golden state. But I know we can get it done because everybody's sick of it and what's going on, especially with the supermajority in Sacramento. We have the highest population of homelessness. Businesses are leaving. All the small mom and pops, people are losing their jobs. So enough is enough. We're going to take our state back.
I know that's right. That's the kind of enthusiasm we need in the GOP. So tell us a little bit about your history and how you got involved with the GOP to begin with. How did that happen?
I know people always wonder, how did you get involved? Well, I got involved. Actually, I switched parties when George W. Bush ran for president, but I've always had conservative values. I grew up with conservative values, but the popular thing in high school was to be a Democrat. So the first president, and I'm very transparent, was I voted for Bill Clinton. And so I didn't know everything about the Clintons back then. I just saw Bill Clinton playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. And I said, hey, this guy is cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So until the age of the internet, because I am a Generation Xer, the age of the internet, my curiosity said, let me start looking up the past with the Clintons, because you start to hear stories about Bill and Hillary back when they were in Arkansas. You started looking at all this, and I said, oh my God, this guy is terrible, even his wife. So I started even looking, because you hear about the myth of the party switch, and I educated myself saying there was no party switch. And most of all, I am very pro-life. I cannot vote for a party that believes in abortion. So I said, enough is enough. I'm more conservative. I believe in conservative values, especially with free market principles, because I am a business major. I am a businesswoman. I want less taxes, less regulation. And plus, I joined the military. And guess who pays the military? Republicans. So,
Oh,
so,
love it, love
so
it.
but back then it was a closed primary, so I had to register as a Republican to vote in the primary. So I said, you know what? I've always admired Booker T. Washington and everybody else who paved our way. And I always aligned my principles along Booker T. Washington, of course, Frederick Douglass. You have Harriet Tubman and a lot of other great Black Republicans, especially. So I said, I'm just going to take this leap of faith. And I did. And I don't regret it. But at the same time, I've seen our party go towards a different direction. And so I started to observe different things where you have a lot of factions coming along. And I said, this is not who we are as supposedly the party of Lincoln. And
Mm,
so I also even told myself and a lot of my peers and people, I said, this is not why I joined the Republican Party. I joined because of our foundation principles. And in me as a military member and as a female veteran and a minority Black female, I said, I am more of a minority in this party. So when it came down to getting involved in politics, I was always involved in my local politics, especially in my city. We did recalls here. I was very active when it came to questioning finances, when it even came to animal rights, because I'm a big animal rights person as well. A lot of people don't know that, but when it came to shelter issues, because I am a taxpayer. And even though I don't have children personally, but I got involved with what was going on in the school board because I said these are kids and we can't allow certain things to go on where we did. If you look up Moreno Valley, Mike Rios, you'll see that he was a school board member who was charged with child prostitution. So I was involved in that as well. And at the same time, started learning about more and more, okay, this is how local government works. But my whole career has been federal government because I was a federal government employee for over 15 years. And so when it came to our Republican congressional representative leaving the district because they split the districts, because we were always a red district, and it was an open district. And so we ended up with a Democrat representative. And I'm a fair person. I said, I'm going to give this guy a chance. But I noticed when it came to issues with veterans, because he ran on, oh, I'm pro-vet, and he was the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee. I said, he's not even listening to our concerns when it comes to veteran issues and civil service issues. So I started looking at his voting record. So a friend of mine and I one day, I was just venting to him. We were having lunch and it turned into a long lunch, but it was my day off, so nobody can say I was at work. But this is FYI disclosure. And he said, Aja, you know so much when it comes to veterans and you're a female and you're a minority. Why don't you run against him? And I was like, what? No, I can't do this. And he said, no, everybody knows you. And a lot of people do like you and they respect your opinion and your insight and how you see things, especially because I'm inside working in the Department of Defense and the issues that are going on at the base that I was at and a lot of other issues too. And so I said, you know what? I got to pray on it. I got to talk to my family about it. And it was about a week or so. And I said, you know what? Let's go for it. What do I have to lose? I'm just a girl from Reno Valley that said, why not? Why can't I just try? And if I don't make primary or anything, hey, I tried. So what was really great is that I was not challenged by another Republican during primary.
wow.
And well, actually, a Republican was running, but he dropped out before primary. So it was just me and my opponent, Mark Takano. And everybody was shocked. So of course, I was a newbie. This was a midterm 2018. And so trying to raise money as a newbie, trying to get my name out there. I already knew I wasn't going to win, but I did win in a way because I showed people, not only the Republicans, but also the moderate Democrats and also the no party preference. This is this guy's voting record. And this is what he's not doing for our district. And especially when it comes to protecting children, helping out veterans, and just not doing anything in Washington, D.C. Instead of, it's pretty much he's just a talking point puppet. So I didn't make it, but I still kept involved in the GOP. I started going to more meetings and started expressing my views and my opinions and trying to go back to the basic party principles. And a lot of people say, yeah, you're right, Aja, we need to. And so I did run again. And this time I had two Democrat challengers. And guess what? I made the primary still. So, and I got more name recognition. So, I learned a lot, and there was things that I said I could have done better, and that's what we're working on. And we're going to really revamp my campaign for 2022. And of course, California, we're going to lose a congressional seat. And so we're kind of on the edge, like, okay, whose seat is it? How is our districts going to be realigned? But we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to ask people, hey, I'm going to go for this again. And I'm still going to work within the party as much as I can, and also re-educate, especially to minorities who want to join the Republican Party, and say, I know you hear the mainstream people that talk on Fox News, but I have myself and yourself and Jeff and Sunny and Felicia and Julian. Hey, we're a different type of conservatives where we believe in better conservative values. Those talking points will not get us any attention or even gain people to come into the party. And that's what my whole revamping of my campaign is, to go back to the basic conservative principles, especially with me. I'm a big person when it comes to free market and economics, and to help small business owners, and to help a lot of minority women too in my district, because there are a lot of minority women, and we're actually outpacing in the population in my district. And so this revamping and having more creative ideas to have better outreach, and to bring a new, as Jeff renamed his show, yes, I'm calling you out, Jeff, a fresh perspective. Because Jeff has not had me on his show yet, but that's another topic. But at the same time, to have a different vision in how we move forward, especially as a Republican here in California, where we are a target, but to show people who are not Republican, hey, we're here to show you a better way, and a better way of life. And that is, we're going to listen to you better. We are going to do community outreach better with you. And we are going to show you the real principles of being a conservative.
Excellent. I love it. And I love the fact that you say, I'm going to stay and fight, and I'm going to fight for true conservative values. And you called out us conscious conservatives making moves. So I had to make that banner at the bottom, because I want to let people know that we're not just talking about it on Twitter all day. And I love our chats in DMs and on Twitter, but we also are changing the physical space that's out there, and we're actually trying to fight.
We're going back to the true principles. As Sunny, I said, I've actually followed Sunny for quite a while when she was with Breitbart. And I said, wow, it's somebody else that thinks like me as well. And then I finally found her on Twitter a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, that's the lady that was on Breitbart, and she was really talking some good stuff here. So, just for us to come together and to have a better, I will say, challenge what we see on mainstream media, that, where I'm glad that Lawrence Jones has his show. He had Sunny come on a couple of times, and we can show a different way that, what we see as a challenge on Twitter and also mainstream media. People think that Black Republicans, we all think alike, but we're not a monolith. Even with the Black community, we don't all think alike. And so we all have a different opinion, especially going back to that conservative principles. We are individuals. I may have a different opinion than you or anybody else, but we don't argue. We listen to each other, and that's what we need to do, to have a common ground, and to say how we're going to reshape, and how we're going to tell everybody we are different than, I'm not going to mention any names, than your regular pundit talking points.
Yeah, so how do you feel about some of the news that came out recently on Twitter that said right-wingers are trying to oust Newsom? I know you went into why y'all are trying to do that, but how are y'all combating that? Because in Georgia, where I'm from, we seem to have the left just reaming over our narratives and just saying whatever they want to say, and we don't really feel like there's enough pushback from the Georgia Republicans, and they hear me and they hear Felicia just going at them because we need better marketing. How are you guys handling the marketing side of letting everybody know that, hey, we're here and we don't want him?
Well, and a lot of people, it's a scare tactic from the Democrats, the far left. They say, oh, it's right wingers, they're extremists, or Nazis, everything you can think of. But no, the people who I gathered signatures from, they were moderate Democrats. They were no party preference. They were minorities. And the people who were coming out to the rallies and all the volunteers we all said we're just sick and tired of what's going on here in California. If people don't understand, sometimes I put in my tweets, as California goes, the rest of the nation follows. And so when we have those laws and people make fun of us, guess what? A lot of those laws go to the federal level, such as AB 5, Assembly Bill 5, which is now the PRO Act. And so if they don't pass here in California, majority of your House representatives are from California and the Speaker of the House is from California, they go to the federal level. So
Vice
we have to
President.
kind of, and I tell people that, I said, don't think that because we're that state that everybody says this fall off to the Pacific Ocean. Don't say that, please. I get that all the time. People say, well, just fall out to just put a wall around California. No, a lot of people in a lot of states are turning blue or light baby blue, like Colorado, because they took the blueprint of California and how to flip a state. And so when I hear people say that, I think it's laughable because they know it's a threat. And Gavin Newsom knows he is put on notice. And so they're going to try every way to scare people to think that we're all crazy right wingers, but we're not. I mean, my neighbor, he's a Democrat. He signed it. I know other people who are Democrats and they signed it, no party preference. People who said, I have never voted in the past 15 years, but I'm signing it because I'm not moving and I'm sick of what's going on. And so that is a false narrative. And I know that the Democrat money machine is going to put a lot of money into it to try to hold this governorship. But we do need people to help us. We do need people to encourage us. And we do need people to pray for us, especially because California is the fifth largest economy of the world. And we do have a lot of issues here, but a lot of things come from California, especially when it comes to crops, when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to even political issues, because you have a lot of representatives on the state level and the federal level. They're all working to make laws to make all of our lives miserable, especially on the federal level. And so, and on the state level as well. So I tell people, just ignore it. I saw that tweet. I said, this is laughable, but we're going to prevail one way or another here in California. But what we do need to work on is our local and state politics as well, because as Tip O'Neill said, all politics start at the local level. And so we're going to have to really start pushing and put the progressive far left Democrats on notice saying, hey, we're going to recall Gavin Newsom. We're coming after a lot of you too next, because you're making our inner cities even worse, especially in Los Angeles. We have in San Francisco as well. We have people who are not even putting out great policy to help bring businesses back to entertain that. We have more regulations. So we have a lot to work on in California, but one step is to get rid of Gavin Newsom. But the biggest step that I see, we need to start working on breaking up that supermajority in Sacramento.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you keep reiterating the local level, because a lot of people think that the federal government is too big. And since
It
they want
is
to
too
make it
big.
up too big, but they think that it's too hard for them to do anything about it because it's so big. So when you reiterate the local level, you're letting people realize that they have somewhere that they can start at the school boards or city
Correct.
council and things like that. So
And
we
get
have to look that
involved.
way. Mm-hmm.
Get involved. I mean, my family and I, we were going to city council meetings. I mean, for the past 15 years, getting involved in elections, getting involved in who is who and how and where's our money going and why don't we have road improvements? Why is the animal shelter killing animals every single day? And those little things do make a difference. And they make a big difference in how you make a good impact within your city as well. And you can be outspoken. And I'm just not saying this as a Republican. I'm saying this, local level is nonpartisan. So don't think, well, they're Democrat, they're good. No, call them out too. And I have friends who actually called out more of their own party in the local level that said, no, you're a horrible representative, you're a horrible city council person or supervisor, and we need change. And we've seen that happen here in my area quite a few times, recalls and people getting kicked out and arrested. So it's just one of those where I tell people we have to go back to the basics when it comes to basic civics 101.
Yes. And we definitely reiterate to tell people to go back and learn and read certain books because a lot of people just
Yes,
don't know. And it's okay to not know, but it's not okay to stay not knowing. So if you know you
correct.
don't know something, you should go check it out. I want to address something else that I saw interesting in your bio when I was doing a little research for our little meeting, and that was the election lawsuit that you filed. Was this about
Yes,
the 2020 election and what have you? Because
it
I didn't hear anything about California.
It is a well, I just want to clarify, it is a nonpartisan lawsuit. So we have Democrats on board with us. We're not disgruntled Republicans who did not win our election. This is pretty much to say this is not to overturn the 2020 election. This is to actually clean up the voter rolls. This is actually to start showing and having a lot of documentation that there was a lot of funny business going on, especially where we found out that the Dominion machines were used. I think it was called systematic machines were being used because we all came out with the same percentages again. And I tell people my opponent didn't even campaign. He didn't even raise one dime. So how did he win? And I said, this is kind of weird, but my evidence goes back to midterms when I ran because there was some funny things that were going on. And of course, we all documented in each of our races. And we have volunteers who came up and said, hey, with the chain of custody, because ballot harvesting became legal in California, they used the pandemic as an excuse. But the chain of custody with ballot harvesting is very questionable. And you can even go to the Election Integrity Project website, and they have a lot of information. If you're in a different state than I am in California, you can see if any of that applies to you. But we came together as candidates along with the Election Integrity Project, who's been doing this for the past over 10 years, documenting all the irregularities with elections and election laws when it comes to the voter registration offices. So we got together and compiled our evidence to file the class action federal lawsuit. We didn't do it the local level because we already knew if we did it the state level, California would have kicked it out and it would have been a mute decision. But since we're federal candidates, we have that right to file it at the federal level and hopefully have a hearing. And I know people say, well, that's a lost cause, but we're not trying to overturn our election. We're just asking and showing proof that our local registrar's office are not cleaning up the voter rolls, and there's something wrong when it comes to ballot harvesting, especially that, and how the chain of custody. And I had people said, hey, Aja, we voted for you. I still have people today said, we don't even see where our ballot counted. So I said, hey, here's the attorney's phone number. Here's the Election Integrity Project's website. Please document it so we can start showing that and show more proof in court.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's crazy that they would have those issues. And California is such a large state, so you would think that they would try to make sure that
No,
but
no, I can tell you firsthand, ballot harvesting, that people were doing it before it became legal in California. And we already knew they always start at the local level as a guinea pig to say, hey, this works. We can cheat. I won't say cheat. I won't say that, hey, this works. We can finagle things, or, oh, that box is missing. Oh, yeah, we found that box in the janitor's closet. Oh, it's too late now. We can't count those ballots. So that's the main problem. And another problem is, too, especially in my district, Riverside County, the voter rolls have not been cleaned up in so many years, where I said, how anybody can go and say, oh, I'm so and so, and that's me, without even showing an ID, and they'll give me a ballot.
oh wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
There's no checks and balances there
No,
when it's
there's
supposed to
no
be.
checks and balances at all. So that's what we're fighting. We're not trying to overturn our 2020 results. We're actually trying to move forward to clean and have a fair election, especially now that we're going to be recalling and having a special election for Gavin Newsom. In the 2022 elections, we need to have fair elections and to clean voter rolls.
So who do you have anybody in mind for governor? I know that, and I put it on the banner for the people to see that Caitlyn Jenner is running. I know a lot
Yeah.
of celebrities love running in California. How do you feel about that person running or her campaign, or how do you feel about anybody else? Have you heard any other names dropped at the moment?
Well, I will disclose I am friends with Major Williams. And so him and I have been friends for a couple of years now. I remember when I first met him when he ran for mayor of Pasadena, and I've always been supportive of him. Caitlyn Jenner, of course, I don't really know her. So at the same time, I always say, I support my friend, but it's going to be a big battle. He is making waves here in California. There's other people who are running, and we have to see who's going to make the primary. We're going to have to see, and whoever makes the primary, that's who we're going to have to back, especially as Republicans, if we truly want to have new leadership here in California. But we also have to remember, yes, do we need a new governor? Yes, we do. But we also need new state representatives. We also need new city council people. We do, of course, because I'm a federal congressional candidate, we do need better representation in Washington, D.C. So having a new governor is great, but it's just like the president. We have assembly and a Senate, so they can overturn the governor's orders at any time. So having a Democrat, I mean, a Republican governor with a full Democrat assembly in the Senate, guess what? Things won't get done either. So in this upcoming elections, and if you're involved, and I tell everybody when it comes to assembly and Senate on the state level, you need to start pushing more Republicans. I don't want a supermajority Republican either. I actually want a balance because having a supermajority either way, especially in California, you have a say you have a Democrat governor or vice versa, you still won't get nothing done. So I tell everybody, back the person who you really truly feel that will best represent you on the Republican side. But when it comes to the state and the assembly, start backing those people and helping those people get elected because they're the ones that are representing you and they're the ones that are making the laws and those are the ones that are going to the governor's desk. So that's where we need to really start.
So can you tell us what exactly is your platform? What exactly are your like key points that you're running on?
Well, I'm revamping my platform, but I'm always going to stick to veterans, because I live in a district where we have the largest reserve base in the whole entire Reserve Command, Air Force Command. That's still my second home. I'm no longer employed, but those are still my friends and my family over there. I always say I grew up at March because that's where I was stationed for so many years. And especially when it comes to female veterans, because we're still we still don't get a lot of attention when it comes to our issues, especially mental health and homelessness. And more female veterans are becoming homeless. When you hear homeless, you always hear about men. And so we don't talk about the female struggle as veterans and sexual harassment. And when it comes to finding a career change after you get out the services, and also veteran suicide. In my life, I've had about 5 or 6 friends who committed suicide, both men and women, and we need to start tackling that problem. Another problem I see that I want to tackle, and really it is a state of emergency, or probably a federal emergency when it comes to the homelessness here in California, where I was just in downtown LA about a month ago. I nearly cried. I didn't even think I was in California. And so many people had mental health issues, and start saying, do we need to bring back mental health facilities? Do we need to bring back different things to get a lot of these people off the street in the proper medical treatment? Because you can't say, well, you can't lock them up, but at the same time, do you really want them in the street and harming themselves and harming other people? And they're totally out of touch of reality. And now the people who are homeless that are saying, I'm just trying to get a place to stay, but I'm on a waiting list, let's get them off the street too. And so especially when it comes to small business owners, I'm a small business owner and I'm a minority female. I would love to expand that here, especially opportunity zones in my district, because we have a lot of thriving young women and men. I'm not going to be biased, in men, and a lot of them can't go to the military or become a civil servant or go to a 4-year college. So let's start bringing back trade programs. Let's start bringing back different trade skills. And so that's one thing I'm going to be researching more and looking forward to, and hopefully going to Washington, D.C., maybe sitting down with Senator Tim Scott and how we can expand opportunity zones in even more aerospace and healthcare industries here in my city or my district, because healthcare is number one, and then you have March Air Reserve Base is number two as the second or the first largest employer. So let's start bringing some of those back. But for me to bring it back, for anybody else to bring it back, we need to change California's regulations and taxes because Elon Musk left. I mean, so many people left. They went to Texas, they went to Tennessee. And so we have to start changing that and having a good working relationship with Sacramento as a federal representative to say, hey, we cannot afford for more people to leave California because we're going to go bankrupt very soon.
Yes, and we do not want the fifth largest economy in the world to go bankrupt because the trickling effects of that will be disastrous. And
We will this and I don't think people really understand how California works because we're always made fun of. So, but I always tell people, please read the history of California and how it does in fact impact the nation and also the rest of the world.
can you tell us a little bit about that? Let us know a little bit about your state. Go ahead and boast about it a little bit.
Well, my state, I always said I've been to many states, but there's no place like California. I can go to the beach, I can go to the mountains, I can go to the desert, all within an hour and a half without traffic. But
Yes.
we have a bad traffic problem here. So, but in reality, I mean, I can go to the border, and that's a bigger issue too with us, especially with the Mexican border, is because we do have illegal, I say undocumented immigrants who come here, but we can help and fix that as well. We also have a contamination sewage problem that comes from Imperial Beach, from Mexico to Imperial Beach, that we're such an environmental state where they ban plastic bags and straws, but you have a toxic sewage and that comes right through from Mexico to Imperial Beach where it's all contaminated. So that's another issue too. Well, California is very unique because I know people, if you know the history of California, we're the gold rush state and everybody came here. People came here to retire. People wanted to just live the California dream, but that dream is now deferred, as Langston Hughes said in one of his poems. And so I tell people when it comes to even the avocado groves here, the wineries, the grapes, the fruit, and every farmland, that's where you get a lot of your products. And I tell people that we cannot afford, like right now, they're trying to do another drought on us where we're going to have to probably limit our water right before summer. I said, this is crazy because the farmers are lacking water. And we went through this before under Jerry Brown, where we were limited on how long we can take a shower. If we went over that, our water bill went sky high. And it's like, you're going to dictate me about this? And so I tell people, there's a lot at stake when it comes to California because we are an entertainment state. We have Hollywood. I would not suggest to go there right now because it's totally not clean. And then we also have transportation problems because we have a lot of gridlock on our freeways. But a lot of that is the local and state issue. And of course, people look at the federal government and say, hey, we need more money to expand our transportation. And we had the bullet train issue where that was the biggest scam besides Acorn I've seen. And that got nicked in the butt. But at the same time, we do have a beautiful landscape here. And I tell people, you tell me anywhere else where you can see such beautiful oceans. You can go to a lake, you can go to Big Bear, you can go camping all in within 2 hours. And at the same time, a lot of people cannot even afford to put food on their kids on give food to their kids, and these are working class citizens. You can be a millionaire and still live here and still cannot afford to live here. And so that's one of the problems I see with California, that we do need to really hammer what goes on in Sacramento so we can bring back the industries and the jobs. I'll tell you a quick story. My mom, before she became a nurse, she used to work for Rockwell. It was with aerospace industry. It was during the Reagan administration. And so Reagan did create a lot of jobs, especially for the Black community. If you lived in LA and Long Beach and Carson, Compton and Watts. And so a lot of successful people with great pensions and great benefits. But as soon as Bill Clinton came into office, a lot of it got shut down and a lot of people lost their jobs. And so my mom was one of those that lost her job, but she became a nurse. And she said, but I liked my job working at an aerospace industry. But at the same time, that's what we're going to be facing if we don't change how we see California, especially the rest of the nation. I always tell people, I know it's easy to poke fun of us. I poke fun of ourselves as well. But at the same time, we need to really start paying attention to how our politics are ran, because you see the nepotism with Nancy Pelosi, you had the Jerry Brown family dynasty. I'm not even going to get into it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but at the same time, he wasn't a bad governor, but he was not a great governor. It was some things that we did disagree with him, but there's some things that he did not allow, which was fair game. But at the same time, we're going to have somebody strong, has a great passion, and sees a great vision for California. But they also have to realize that even though if they do get the governorship, if Gavin Newsom is fully unseated with the Republican governor, you're going to have a hard battle in Sacramento. That's where the people in California are going to have to change Sacramento legislation, and even at the local level, because a lot of the local level politicians, they go straight up to Sacramento because it's a stepping stone. So at the same time, me as a federal candidate is to help those other candidates who are running for those levels of office, to support them and to push their platform and to go door knocking with them and vice versa, so we can have a fair and balanced way of living here. Like I said, I don't want a supermajority, but I want a fair and balanced way where we can actually put politicians to the test to, hey, you're going to have to work for us as we the people.
Oh, that's great, and I love your enthusiasm for your state and for you running. So, do you watch what we're doing in the conscious conservative movement? I don't like to put you on the spot, but would you like to be affiliate candidate, and we say that we are endorsing you as a conscious
Of
conservative?
course, because we all,
Okay,
of
cool.
course.
We already
I
have
said,
Julie, and I see you
finally,
running, and we have
finally,
Ross,
I
and
I
I'm
found
like,
my home. I found my
yes.
home. I said, finally, I
I
found
wouldn't
my
be a good
home.
executive director if I didn't ask those kind of questions and say, would you mind if we can put you out there and say, and when we say
Please,
we have candidates across the country, we got Julian in New Hampshire, and we got Ross down in Texas, and now we have Aja down in California doing
California.
her thing.
And
Yes.
please do, because I even said we need to really change this. I don't like the current narrative that I'm seeing, and especially when it comes to the being so, I can't say vulgar, but so horrible towards the Black community. I'm a Black female. My mother's Black, my dad's Black, my grandparents are Black. And I said, this is not, you can't say, oh, that's Black culture. I don't like that. I want people to understand that,
We're on
hey,
the
there's,
same side. So if we
yeah,
don't, yeah, so if we don't like it, obviously the voters are like, whoa, what's going on?
but I want to show people that, okay, you may like this person, but this is why I disagree with that person. I'm not going to mention names, but some people who have followed us for a little bit longer understand who we don't agree with, as Jeff calls them, the Sesame Street conservatives, conservative Inc. But at the same time, we're showing a option. We're showing that we're more solutionary than reactionary, and I'm more of a prevention instead of being a reactionary. And I tell people that, I said, you can solve a problem before it gets too late, but you have so many people wait till the problem happens. Oh, now we have to figure out the problem, but you cannot figure out the problem because you don't understand the problem. You refuse to learn history. You refuse to acknowledge that, you know, some people do believe there is systematic racism. Some people do believe that these things are happening. Redlining. I mean, I think that was one of the hot topics, what, about a week and a half ago? And people were like, oh, well, that's not true. That's not true. It's like, yeah, it is true. Some people do believe that we should get reparations. And I said, let's have a study on it. And so why not have these conversations, open conversations, instead of saying, well, everything is racist or we're not responsible? Well, let's start having a good adult dialogue instead of shutting it down. I mean, you were in the military, I was in the military, and what we were taught before you go to your commander, there's a problem, you better have a solution, right?
Yes,
So,
that's
and,
definitely true.
because I used to work for commanders. So they said, Sergeant Smith, don't come in my door unless you got unless you have the solution. I said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Okay, here's the problem, but here's how to fix the problem, or I fix the problem. They're like, good job. So, and that's what we need to do. Instead of constantly talking about the problem, we need to say, here's how to fix the problem. And this is what we need to do for community engagement. And that's where I see the lack with Republicans, all Republicans. I don't care what faction or where you live, you are not doing great community engagement. Now, I can tell you one person out there that I can say he needs like a medal, a star, or a job with the RNC is Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler is out there on the ground, and I met him a few times. I can say, Scott, you are doing what a lot of Republicans should be doing, going across country, taking some time and teaching people how to register to vote. But we also need, and I would love to see us conscious conservatives try to go out and do the same thing and say, you listen to these mainstream ones, now listen to what we have to say. I think the best example of that was when Maj had his CPAC panel, and
Mhm.
it really opened up a lot of eyes with different conservatives where people were asking me, do you agree what they said? I said, yes, I do. I think just like them, because I got so tired of hearing one side where I'm just like, do I even want to still be in this party? But I prayed and asked God. He said, you need to stay in and to fight for what is right. And I'm going to put you with other people where I met you, I met Jeff, I met other people, Julian, Ross as well. I know Ross ain't black, but Ross is a brother. He our friend.
Probably would appreciate the comment.
Yeah, Ross, you one of us. But at the same time, we're showing that we all don't think alike. And even that, and I even say it's not just black conservatism, but it's even, I have friends who are Latino Hispanic, and they say they don't like to hear that rhetoric as well. And a lot of them who are Asian Americans, they say we don't want to hear that rhetoric as well. So there are small little groups that say we don't like how this mainstream narrative is going, because that's not why we joined the party, or that's not why I am a conservative or a Republican. But they say, we're glad you're being outspoken about this. And a lot of them have come to me, especially my Hispanic and Latino friends. I said, can you tell us more about Black history? And I'll give them, say, here's a book you can buy. Here's this. You can read more about Booker T. Washington. You can read more about Marcus Garvey. Don't be afraid to read about them. And I say, hey, tune into Sunny's channel, listen to Jeff, and I've been retweeting you, listen to Miss Pinky. And I said, and a lot of them are very curious because they want to hear the difference in opinion in the sides, especially when it comes to Black conservatives.
Yes, because we don't just have issues with the GOP or issues with Democrats and saying, look at Democrats ain't doing this, they're not doing this, they're not doing this. We saying no, we have conservative values that can actually empower generations. We can create generational wealth, economic freedom, jobs and stuff. So we're saying, hey, we believe conservatism like y'all, but y'all messaging is terrible and
It's
it's pushing
terrible.
people away. And do y'all get tired of losing? Do y'all get tired? Was it a blow to your gut that Trump lost? Was it a blow to your gut that we lost Georgia? What is it going to take for conservatives to get out of their old school rut and get up and change so we can start getting some more W's? Now we have opportunities with more congressional seats coming up, and we have 2022, but we got to start doing the work now. That's why I started doing these live chats to try to put people on so people can say, oh, I know Aja, I'm in California, or I know this person and I know this person. So that's what I'm trying to do with my platform, is to give you guys a chance to let everybody know that y'all exist, y'all here, y'all working, y'all willing to do the work. Just come support, even if it's just your vote. So I'm glad that you took any time out of your schedule to come join me today.
Oh, of course. When you said, can I be on your show? Can you be on my show? I said, of course. I always want to put myself out there and tell people who I am and where I stand. Another problem with us as Republicans, I won't say all of us, we need to stop using the term rhino. And I had a conversation. I was at an event, and I'm not going to bring up too many details, but somebody said we need to kick out rhinos. And I had to really ask the question and make a statement. I said, what is your definition of a rhino? because I was called a rhino because I actually reached out to the NAACP in my community and talked to a few people from Black Lives Matter. So does that make me a rhino? And that term has become so loosely based, and so many people saying, well, if you don't agree with me, you must be a rhino. Or if you don't agree with this new movement, you must be a rhino. And I always ask people, how long have you been a Republican? Oh, since Trump. Well, I've been a Republican for over 20 years. I am not a rhino. I am far from a rhino. You're the one that's the rhino, probably, because you don't even know the definition of it or the true meaning of a rhino. So that's one thing where the Republican Party is going to have to really start analyzing, saying, okay, we got some radicals in here and they're just running amok. And I'm going to say it out loud. I'm not going to call out this gentleman's name, but I retweeted something he tweeted, and he's pretty popular on Twitter. But I had to realize he is young, and he doesn't really fully understand even the basics of conservative principles. It was during the last shooting with Dante
Right,
Wilder.
Dante, right.
Dante Wright. He said, well, if you resist, you'll get shot. And I said, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. You can go to my tweet. And I was very cordial with it. I wasn't bashing him. I said, well, I gave him two cases where two individuals, one person was white, one person was black, and they did not resist arrest. And one was shot fatally and died. And the other person, who was actually a mental health caretaker who was trying to calm down his patient, was still shot by the police with his hands up sitting on the ground. He was shot in the leg. So you can't say if you don't resist, you won't get shot. And that's the lack of knowledge and research that I've seen with a lot of, I call it the newcomers, the newbies, as Jeff calls them, conservative ink, the ones that want to be popular and just have clickbait. That's the problem that I have, what's going on, because now you're saying if I don't resist, I won't get shot. But we've had cases, black and white and Hispanic and Latino, where people have not resisted and they still got shot or and even killed. So you can't say don't resist and you won't get shot. And so he comes back and calls me out, says I'm a racist and I hate cops. And by the way, I was backed by my sheriff, and I was actually the law enforcement candidate. I had the California Fraternal Order of Police who endorsed me, including everything else, because we all sat down and talked about these issues, and they all agreed that there needs to be changes, especially with police reform. So I earned that respect, especially with my local sheriff, Chad Bianco, who's a great sheriff. And he's actually talked to BLM in our local NAACP here, and also other police chiefs who still say, we hear what you're saying, and there are bad apples on that side. Same thing in the military. You and I served together. You can't say everybody was great. I mean, I served with people where I was like, how'd you pass your ASVAB? So
That is so true.
how'd you tie your boots this morning? What's going on here? So
That is
and
true. And it seems like on the right, we want to hold black people need to pull up their bootstraps and we want to hold everybody else accountable. But as soon as you say, let's hold cops up accountable, now hold on, Jack.
I
It's
I
just
have I have great cop friends. They all helped me in my campaign. And I said, look, I said, we just need to have a sit down conversation with the community leaders, pastors, especially the Black community. How are we going to make this work for us? So, George Floyd happened while I was campaigning. I cried and I talked to my local sheriff. He said that was so uncalled for. I would have fired him on the spot, that Chauvin guy. He said that was terrible. So when I see these clickbait pundits trying to just be popular and just shoot out little spurts here and there, I said, you're really destroying our party. people think the establishment and the rhinos are going to destroy our party. No, it's the grifters and the pundits that are going to destroy our party. And we need to really start changing and showing people this is not who we are as Republicans and as conservatives, or what even faction you are in, because we're making ourselves even more dysfunctional by saying these things where the left is just laughing at us. And that's why I'm glad that I'm with you guys. And I really appreciate it because I prayed on it. I said, please let there be some like minded people like me, at least on the same page. We may not be on the same sentence. We may have a disagreement, which is okay. But I can't align myself with some of these pundits and say I agree with them because I don't agree with them.
Exactly. And we shouldn't be out here having to suck up to certain people or say certain things just to get the party to change so we can win.
Correct.
Obviously, these people didn't have the solutions to win, or we
No.
would have had it. We would have won. So,
And I hope they're watching this. And I'm going to tell some of them, put your money where your mouth is.
mm, for
Put your
real,
money
I
where
don't
your
want to get in
mouth
the
is.
middle of, because he said
I'm
he's
not
going
going
to
to
be
mention
women
names.
alone. So,
People can tag them on here. I'm just going to say, put your money where your mouth is.
exactly.
Go to Detroit. Go to those places you talk badly about people. Go put your money where your mouth is, because you made a lot of money off of Trump. So go
Yes.
put your money where your mouth is. Don't talk about BLM making money, because I can come out and call you out too about making money, because not one dime I've seen for better community outreach, voter registration, especially in these heavy blue districts. Go put your money where your mouth is. So I said it. I've been wanting to say that for the past 2 weeks.
I know. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us on the channel. Where can people reach you so they can support and donate and help you out with your campaign? Because I know a lot of people going to be interested in trying to
Oh
support your
yes,
efforts in this.
and I tell people you can donate as long as you're within the United States, and you can even help me with my campaign by phone banking. And I had a couple of people in my last run that were from different states. They were actually phone banking for me, so that was awesome. You can go to my website www.aja smith smith for Congress.com. And you can find me on social media. You can even Google my name, Aja Smith, and I'll pop up. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, yes, Aja Smith for Congress.com. And you can follow me if you have questions. I tell people I don't mind answering your questions. If you have ideas, if you say, hey, I want to help you out with your campaign, what can I do? And I live in Wyoming. Hey, you can donate. You can have your friends say when it's time to phone bank, you can start phone banking. I'll send you the phone banking sheet. I mean, it's too early right now. It's not till next year. But at the same time, if you even want me to come out and public speak or be on your Zoom, I will more than happily to do that as well. And I tell everybody, we're in a I don't see this as a right and left battle. I see this as a spiritual battle. And I had those conversations with quite a few of my friends, and I'm going to go to another event next month in Dallas, Texas, with a group of pastors. And this is actually a spiritual battle. We're in a time where I have never seen a president still has not had a State of the Union address, and it's almost May. And so we have a vice president who's from California, and she worked her way up the political ladder. And she was a horrible district attorney, horrible attorney general here. She was a horrible senator, and somehow she became vice president. So this is where I'm saying is that a lot of the stuff that you see that people talking about, they're all come from California. You know, they're the vice president is from California. Just look up her voting record and how she stood on different issues and how she even became where she couldn't even make a primary or get the numbers up, but they still selected her. And that should be questionable as well. I'm not going to speak ill about the president because I was taught in the military you have to still respect the office, but at the same time, I feel that there's something going on there, especially when he tripped up the stairs. And I don't know if it's something cognitive, but we really need to pray for our nation, and we really need to band together. If you're a moderate Democrat or independent, And if you don't like the Republican Party, but you like what we say, you can still support us. You know, we always say there's issues on our side, just like there's issues on your side. But if you agree on what we're saying, then I say come and support us. We can band together and be one voice because we are one country. And I always say it's about we the people. It's to preserve our Constitution and our republic. And I always stress on that with the republic. And a lot of people forget about the republic. So if you feel that way, please follow me and follow everybody else. And I want to say thank you so much for having me on. Did you get all that?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I cut you off, but we're still live.
Okay, so everybody heard my speech.
My bad. Okay, we're still here.
That's okay. But you know, we need to come together if you're like-minded like us, regardless of your party, and if you're sick of it too. And if you want serious change.
Okay, I'm just gonna post a couple of the comments that we've been getting through this, so you could just see some. This is from Julian. He said,
Oh, Julian, that's
he
my
said
brother.
AJ's my favorite this election. So I wanted to put that up there. Greg says, if I lived in her district, I would vote for her. And
Greg, you can support me.
He probably will, knowing Greg.
Please.
When you were talking about trades, Pop Hotep needs to place some of the same value on trades as we do 4-year degrees.
Of course, that's what I want to. That's what I'm formulating right now with my team, is to bring some more trade and to start bringing some different ways for a lot of young people to have entrepreneurship and to teach them how to run a business. I just started my own business, so to really start teaching financial literacy.
We have Mr. Raphael. He said, Ms. Smith, thank you for book recommendation on Antifa.
Good. I put that out there. A couple of people said, I said, here's a great book. I'm a bookworm.
Do you know the name? Would you happen to know the name of the book? Would you be able to?
I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah. Good. Because we love dropping books. Jeff stays dropping books. I haven't stopped reading yet because he keeps giving out new books, and now he's reading on critical race theory. So he's going to have a talk about that too.
Well, I think we should start a book club.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing.
I think we should start a book club. Anybody interested? We should all start a book club.
That's good because I'm
a bookworm.
Yes, I'm reading False Black Power by Jason Rowley.
Okay.
Loneliness of the Black
Republican. I have not started that yet. I've been doing rediscovering Black conservatism, and trust me, and I read fast, but this one I've been soaking in much more, and especially how to use the principles and how to create Black economic wealth.
Wow, yes. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, but there's such more out there than just them two. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't read them, because I read them too. But there's a lot, like Black Elephant in the Room is a good one.
Yes, I have that.
And Republican and the Black Vote is a good one too.
I have that one too.
I think I love it because it goes over the history of why certain things are happening within the party, how a lot of the rhetoric we hear isn't anything new, and you hear different conscious conservatives and different people like Maj bring this stuff up. Maj likes to talk about lying with statistics, which is a good book. So yeah, book club seems like a very
I tell people I buy books that I just want to learn. I'm one of those who are not afraid to think out the box.
That is great, and that's the kind of thinking we need. I'm always putting out there on my Twitter feed that we got to get out of this looking for conventional people. The Lord sends different types of people. If you look at Noah, if you look at David, if you look at the prophets. If you look at it,
Amen.
Moses had a stutter. So God doesn't just use certain, quote unquote looks of people. Even if you look at Donald Trump, he was orange and he had crazy hair. Or if you look at the governor of Florida, DeSantis, he
Right.
he doesn't fit a certain mold, or Tim Scott, or different people. So God doesn't use who we think he should use. He used who, they say, how does it go? It's not who's called, but he calls who he wants, or something like that. I
Correct.
can't get the quote right in my head right now, but
I know
basically
what quote you're talking about.
so we have to get out of this mold that you got to look a certain way or say a certain thing or do a certain thing just to promote conservatism and conservative values, because that's what will bring America to be great again if we start pushing conservative values through different channels and different voices. I know certain people say this person is loud or that person is this or this person is that, but if they're speaking the truth, they're speaking the truth, and God can
We're
use
all
any of them.
we are
Mm-hmm.
all unique in our messaging, and that's what I love about it. And we all present different, and just like I think it was Shamika,
Shamika Michelle, yes.
where she said you can't send Carlton out there to the inner city, the Carltons and the Wills. So and that's really spot on. You know,
And she
and I
wasn't,
tell it
oh,
wasn't
I'm really,
derogatory. It was the
mhm.
truth.
She wasn't
So
trying to diss the Carltons either. I think people
no,
misunderstand what she was saying. It's just different types of messengers. Just like you wouldn't send somebody from the city to the urban. You wouldn't send Ben Shapiro to the middle of, Nebraska. You would send another type of conservative. So they do that on the white conservative or other race conservative side. But when it comes to us, it's like they want us to be elevated a certain way. Like if you
correct.
look like this, if you say this, if you chastise the black community, if call out only the negatives and not the positives, like how
Yes.
Atlanta is the black mecca, and yeah,
Atlanta's
they're growing. So
Atlanta is the new Black Wall Street. We need to bring back new Black Wall Streets. I
mm-hmm.
tell people that. I said, study our history. I know people don't like the term Black history, but guess what? It's there. That's what made America so great as well, was the Black history, our
Yes,
Black Wall Streets. We need to bring those back.
yes. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Oh,
I
no
thank you so
worries. I
much
can sit
for
here.
inviting,
But
accepting an invite. But
if he's listening, I want to say thank you to Pastor. No, wait, not Jeff, not Jeff. I want
oh,
to
I thought you
say,
were talking about Jeff. Okay.
girl, no. I want to say thank you to Pastor Daryl Scott a lot
Yes.
for going out there and to tweeting what you're doing. I always say, preach a pastor. We're having our sermon today. I want, if he's listening, and I said, I hope I get to interview with him and meet him, of course, all of you too, but I said I love how Pastor Scott's going out there and tearing everybody up. But that's the type of that's what we need to do, is to combat this negative narrative. But I want to say thank you to everybody, Sonny and Felicia and Jeff. He don't even have me on the show, but that's okay. That's okay.
Oh,
I keep my head up high. One day,
I will
whenever,
get him. I'm pretty
uh,
sure he's listening.
but and a lot of other people, and I'm glad to see. I can't think of everybody's name, but we're all getting on the same page, especially the Hoteps. I like all their tweets.
Oh
They,
yeah, hoteps are
but
definitely our allies. I like
yes,
hoteps. We
I
allies with the
I
solutionaries with Maj. So yes. Mm-hmm.
but I want to say especially to Dr. Pastor Daryl Scott for being a big voice too, and especially a man of God who's been out there and saying no, this is wrong and this is wrong to say. And I retweet a lot what he says, and I said, I hope more pastors come out and say this is demeaning and how you talk about the Black community, and because it is demeaning, where we struggled for so long in this country and even throughout world history. We don't need to be dehumanized anymore. Where, please, I tell everybody, embrace and learn our history and see where we're coming from, especially here as being Black Americans.
Oh, that's a good note to leave it on. And I'm thanking you for joining me and Mrs. Pinky
Thank you.
Talks. Thank you, everybody. Please like,
And thank you
subscribe,
for
and
your
share.
service, Miss Pinky.
Oh, and thank you too. I always mess with Marines. I don't mess with the Air Force because y'all got them scores and stuff. So I didn't really, I didn't review enough. I usually mess with just the Marines.
Quick little secret. I actually wanted to become a Marine. I wanted to be a
Oh
Marine.
no, Julian's gonna like yes.
I wanted to be a Marine. But as soon as I saw that boot camp video, I said, no, I just keep
Nope.
family tradition. I'll go stay at the hotels and eat good.
Alrighty, thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you,
God
everybody. Like,
bless.
share, and
God bless.
subscribe.